story of Solomon's wealth. Once upon a time, in the land of Israel, a king sat on the throne whose wisdom and wealth became legendary across the ancient world. This king was Solomon, the son of David, known not only for his incredible riches, but also for his unparalleled wisdom. His story is one of divine favor, ambition, and unparalleled prosperity, a tale that continues to captivate us today. Solomon inherited the throne from his father, King David, Israel's beloved king who had established a mighty kingdom. But Solomon's reign would be different. He wasn't a warrior like his father. Instead, he would be known for building a kingdom of peace, wisdom, and prosperity. As Solomon took the throne, he was deeply aware of the enormous responsibility he carried. One night, God appeared to him in a dream and offered him anything he wanted. This was a moment that would change the course of Solomon's life and his kingdom. Instead of asking for wealth, fame, or power, Solomon made an extraordinary request. He asked God for wisdom to govern God's people with understanding and justice. God was so pleased with Solomon's request that he not only granted him wisdom, but also promised to give him riches, honor, and a long life, making Solomon the wealthiest and most renowned king in history. Solomon's wisdom wasn't just book knowledge, it was practical, God-given insight that allowed him to govern his kingdom with justice, build alliances, and create wealth. His wisdom became famous far and wide. People traveled from distant lands to hear his teachings and witness his judgment. One of the most famous stories that demonstrates Solomon's wisdom is the judgment over the two women who both claimed to be the mother of the same baby. Solomon, in a display of brilliant wisdom, proposed to divide the baby in two, offering each woman half. The real mother immediately offered to give up her claim to save the child's life, revealing herself as the true mother. This judgment became a symbol of Solomon's profound understanding and earned him the respect of nations far beyond Israel. Solomon's wealth didn't come overnight, nor was it merely a result of his wisdom. It was also his vision, ambition, and his obedience to God's will that set the stage for the wealth he would eventually accumulate. One of Solomon's most significant projects was the construction of the Temple of the Lord in Jerusalem, a place that would symbolize God's presence among his people. The task of building the temple was monumental. It required skilled laborers, artisans, and the finest materials. Solomon spared no expense in creating a place that would honor God. The cedar wood from Lebanon, gold, silver, and precious stones used in the temple were so abundant that they would make it one of the most magnificent buildings the world had ever seen. To fund this massive project, Solomon made strategic decisions, creating trade agreements with neighboring kingdoms and gathering resources from all over the ancient world. The wealth that flowed into Israel during this time was staggering, and the temple became a symbol of Solomon's commitment to God and his kingdom's prosperity. Solomon's wealth was not only about the riches he accumulated, but also about the splendor and luxury of his court. His palace was a symbol of his status, filled with fine furniture, gold-plated decorations, and precious stones. Everything about Solomon's reign screamed opulence. His court was a reflection of his wealth, but also of his wisdom and vision. He surrounded himself with skilled craftsmen, architects, and counselors who helped him achieve his dream of building a kingdom that was both powerful and aesthetically magnificent. One of the most awe-inspiring parts of Solomon's court was his throne room, where he would pass judgment and entertain dignitaries from all over the world. His throne was made of ivory and overlaid with pure gold. He also had 15,000 men working for him, servants, administrators, and skilled workers who helped manage the empire's resources. Under Solomon's reign, Israel enjoyed a period of unprecedented peace and prosperity. The kingdom was free from war and its borders were secure. This peace allowed Solomon to focus on monumental projects, such as the temple and his grand palace. It also enabled him to foster trade, build relationships with other nations, and invest in the arts, philosophy, and education. Solomon's wealth wasn't just about material possessions, it was about the flourishing of a people under a wise king. He used his resources to create a society where people could thrive. There was prosperity in the land, food was abundant, and the economy was booming. Perhaps the most famous encounter showcasing Solomon's wealth and wisdom came when the Queen of Sheba visited him. She had heard of Solomon's incredible wealth and wisdom, and she traveled from a distant land to test him with hard questions. When she arrived, she brought gifts of gold, spices, and precious stones, but what she saw in Solomon's court left her speechless. The grandeur of his palace, the wisdom in his answers, and the wealth of the kingdom were beyond what she had ever imagined. She praised God for raising up such a wise king and left with even more admiration than when she arrived. Despite all the wealth and wisdom Solomon accumulated, his later years took a tragic turn. As Solomon grew older, he began to drift away from God. He married foreign wives who led him to worship idols and turn away from the one true God. His heart became divided, and his kingdom's prosperity began to fade. In the end, God's judgment came upon Solomon's descendants. After his death, the kingdom of Israel would divide, and the riches Solomon amassed would be squandered. His story serves as a reminder that wealth and wisdom, if not used to honor God, can lead to destruction. Solomon's wealth and wisdom stand as a remarkable testimony to what can be achieved when we seek God's guidance and trust in his provision. However, his story also serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of allowing material wealth or worldly pursuits to take precedence over our relationship with God. As we reflect on Solomon's life, consider how we can apply these lessons to our own lives. Are we, like Solomon, seeking wisdom from God in all our decisions? Are we allowing our prosperity and resources to honor God and benefit others? Or have we become distracted by material pursuits? Solomon's wealth was not only a result of his wisdom, but also his faithfulness to God. We too are called to seek God's wisdom and faithfully steward the resources he provides. Let us take a moment to reflect on how we can invite God's wisdom into our lives, ask for guidance in our decisions, and use our resources to serve others and glorify God. Take time today to pray for God's wisdom in your life. Ask for the clarity and understanding to make wise decisions, honor him with your resources, and be a blessing to those around you. Share the story of Solomon's wealth and wisdom with others, and encourage them to seek God's guidance in all aspects of their lives.